The murder of Sarah Williams shocked the small town of Willow Creek. Her life was taken in the middle of the night, leaving behind only one strange clue, a red ribbon, torn and frayed, found in her hand. But what does this clue mean? Who left it there? 3 suspects remain: John, the jealous ex-boyfriend, Rachel, the distant best friend, and Marcus, the quiet neighbor with an odd story. Now, it's time to take a closer look at what the police have found. Maybe the answers have been right in front of us the whole time. The red ribbon was the first thing that caught the investigators' attention. It was small, delicate, but it didn't belong in Sarah's home. It seemed to have been torn from something, like it was part of a larger object, a dress maybe, or a piece of fabric. The police sent the ribbon to the lab to check for fingerprints or DNA. But it came back clean. No fingerprints, no skin cells, nothing that could tell them who it belonged to. It seemed like the killer had been careful, too careful. But the ribbon wasn't just an accident. It was left behind on purpose. The question was, why? Did the killer want to leave a message? Was it a trophy, or was it something Sarah grabbed while trying to fight off her attacker? The detectives had to look deeper. Let's start with John, Sarah's ex-boyfriend. He had been upset when Sarah broke things off. He wanted control, and when Sarah left him, his anger grew. A week before her murder, they had a big fight. Neighbors said they could hear them yelling. John had no alibi for the night of Sarah's death. He said he was home alone, but no one could prove it. The police asked him about the red ribbon. John claimed he had never seen it before. He looked nervous, unsure of his words. But John did admit that Sarah loved ribbons. She had some from gifts, from wrapping presents. Maybe that's why she grabbed it. Or maybe the ribbon belonged to someone else. The police didn't have enough evidence to prove John was lying, but his story didn't add up. Next, there was Rachel, Sarah's best friend. Recently, their friendship had been strained. They weren't talking as much. And people noticed that Rachel had been avoiding Sarah in the weeks before the murder. Rachel told the police that she had been at a friend's house the night Sarah died. She had an alibi. But something about Rachel felt off. When asked about the red ribbon, Rachel paused. She said she couldn't remember seeing it before. But her hesitation made the police suspicious. There had been whispers that Rachel was jealous of Sarah's new job and her new friends. Could jealousy have driven her to hurt her closest friend? It was hard to say. But Rachel didn't seem as innocent as she pretended to be. One strange thing the police discovered. Rachel had once worn a red ribbon to a party a few months ago. It was a part of a costume she had put together. Was it the same ribbon? No one knew for sure. But it made the investigators question her story. Finally, there was Marcus, the quiet neighbor who lived just down the street. He kept to himself and wasn't seen around town much. Marcus told the police he was asleep when Sarah was murdered. But his story had holes. He said he didn't hear anything that night, even though he lived close enough to Sarah's house that he should have heard the commotion. The police thought this was strange. How could he have slept through the noise? When asked about the red ribbon, Marcus acted like he had never seen it before. His face was calm, but his eyes darted around like he was hiding something. The police couldn't tell if he was nervous because he was guilty, or if he was just scared because he was being questioned. There was no evidence connecting Marcus directly to the ribbon, but the way he talked about Sarah made the police wonder if he knew more than he was saying. One more piece of evidence kept haunting the investigators: the phone calls. Sarah had been receiving strange, silent phone calls in the days before her death. The police were able to trace the calls, but they came from a blocked number. They couldn't tell who had been calling her. Was it the killer trying to scare her? Why? Was it someone watching her, waiting for the right moment to strike? The police believed these calls were connected to her murder, but with no clear trail, it was just another mystery in this growing case. Whoever had been calling her had planned this well. The police knew the killer had been watching Sarah, waiting for the perfect moment. The phone calls, the red ribbon, it was all part of a plan. But whose plan and why? As the investigation continued, the detectives were left with more questions than answers. The red ribbon, the phone calls, the three suspects: John, Rachel, and Marcus. Each of them had a motive. But the evidence wasn't strong enough to point directly to one person. The police were sure that someone was lying. Someone knew more than they were telling. But for now, the truth remained just out of reach. Was it the jealous ex-boyfriend? Unable to let Sarah go? The distant best friend with secrets to hide? Or the quiet neighbor who seemed too calm for comfort? The answers are close. But the case is far from over. In the next and final episode, we'll reveal the truth behind Sarah's murder. The evidence will come together, and the real killer will be exposed. But for now, we're left with the clues, the mysteries, and the question: who killed Sarah? Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the final episode, where we'll reveal the killer and uncover the truth behind Sarah's tragic death. Who do you think did it? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. We'll see you in part 3, the final episode.